What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be doing another weapon breakdown for Battlefield 2042, this time covering the DXR-1. In these weapon breakdowns we're going to be going through a bunch of stats that you guys need to know, such as rounds per minute, reload times, bullet velocity, damage over distance, bullets to kill over distance, and time to kill over distance as well. On top of those stats we'll then go over 3 unique loadouts that I've crafted for specific playstyles for those of you who aren't 100% sure on which attachments to use. Now before we do get into it, if you guys do end up enjoying the video, then be sure to leave a like down below, and if you are new to the channel then definitely hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications, as there's going to be plenty more content like this on the way in 2022. With that being said though, guys, let's get stuck right into my weapon breakdown for the DXR-1. So the DXR is obviously classed as a sniper rifle, and you unlock this bad boy at level 24. Now it has a magazine size of 5+1 in the chamber, and it fires at a rate of 30 rounds per minute, which is right in the middle out of the 3 snipers in 2042. However, it is almost half the speed of the SWS-10. Now for its reload times, it takes 2.66 seconds for a tactical reload, which is when you manually reload it, or it has an empty reload time of 4.66 seconds, which is when it automatically reloads after running out of bullets. Obviously that is a pretty drastic difference there, almost doubling the reload time, so it's definitely worth trying to reload it when there's one shot left at a minimum rather than letting it do the empty reload. As for the velocity, it sends its ammunition down range at 1000 meters per second, which is the fastest weapon in the entire game, and it's roughly 33% faster than the SWS-10, which is the next best. So the DXR has some amazing velocity, meaning you barely have to lead your shots at all. Now getting into some of the more detailed stats for the DXR, keep in mind that these values are all based off of body shots, and when it comes to snipers, headshots actually have a 4 times multiplier rather than a 2 times multiplier, so any value that you see in these graphs are just a quarter of the damage when you land them to the head rather than the torso or the limbs, and so it goes without saying that headshots with a sniper are absolutely critical. The DXR deals 110 damage per bullet up to 9 meters, so you can actually one-shot to the body within those 9 meters provided they aren't wearing armor, and then at 10 meters and beyond it drops down to 60 damage per shot. As for the bullets that it takes to kill over distance, and again keep in mind these are just body shot stats here, it obviously kills in one shot up to 9 meters, and then at 10 meters and beyond it will take 2 shots to the body to kill an enemy. Now I usually cover the time to kill as well, but honestly with a sniper that stat is essentially redundant, so I'm going to be leaving that out of the sniper guides and the shotgun guides. Time to kill really only makes sense for automatic or semi-automatic weapons at the end of the day. Now those stats are actually identical to the SWS-10 as well, however obviously with the velocity and the rate of fire the weapons are still fairly different from each other, but yeah, in terms of damage output they actually have identical stats to each other. Obviously these stats do vary quite a bit once you account for headshots and miss shots like I mentioned, but assuming you hit every shot to the body at these ranges then these stats are accurate according to that situation. But the key thing to emphasize here with it being a sniper, always aim for the head, as that will deal 4 times the amount of damage than a body shot regardless of the range. Now just like the time to kill, I usually do cover the recoil pattern with most of the other weapons, but again this is essentially redundant with a sniper. Don't get me wrong, they do technically have recoil patterns, but by the time you've bolted the weapon and gotten back on target the bullets will just go exactly where you're aiming, so yeah, not much point showing off the recoil pattern for a sniper since there is essentially none. Now moving on, like I mentioned, I've actually crafted 3 different loadouts that I often like to use on the DXR depending on the mode or the map or just how I feel like playing in general. So if you're not 100% sure on what attachments to use, then hopefully this can give you guys a good starting point, and obviously these can be altered and adjusted to your own preferences, so these are by no means set in stone. Also keep in mind that you can obviously bring 3 attachments per slot in the plus system, so technically you can bring all 3 of these loadouts along and change them on the fly. So the first loadout that I wanted to cover is what I like to call the aggressive build, and this one is pretty much just built for those more close to sort of mid-range encounters. I called the same sort of build for the SWS-10 the quickscope build, however this weapon is a lot slower overall and I don't think it's really suitable at all for quickscoping, so I thought I would definitely change the name for this one. For the sight I used the 8R hollow sight simply because it reduces that zoom a little bit while also reducing your ADS speed, and those two in combination are obviously perfect for a build focused on some more close to mid-range sniping. For the ammo I used the extended mag. There's nothing more annoying than running out of ammo when you're getting some nice big multi-kills in an aggressive area, so those extra few shots are always handy. For the underbarrel there is only one option for the DXR, which is the factory mounts, and then lastly for the barrel I use the wrapped suppressor, as this does just help keep you off the minimap outside of 20 meters, and that can definitely help with pulling off some nice flanks and lining up groups of enemies. Now moving on to the second loadout that I wanted to cover, this one is the long range build. Obviously snipers are already built for range, but it can still be improved even further for that super long range combat where you're pretty much sniping halfway across the map off the tower on orbital or something like that, so I thought this was worth mentioning anyway. For the sight, I use the BKS 8x scope. This is a personal favourite of mine as it has a nice clear sight and that tiny bit of extra zoom compared to the 6x just to help it at those longer ranges. For the ammo, I use the high power rounds as they increase the bullet velocity of the weapon even further, which is essentially what this build is trying to achieve. For the underbarrel, once again, you just have to use the factory mounts, and then lastly for the barrel, I use the extended barrel as this just increases the velocity of the weapon yet again at the cost of a slightly slower rate of fire. Like I said, this build is definitely going to make the weapon more effective at range. The damage output doesn't change, but that will just make your bullets land much faster, so you're barely going to have to lead your shots even at like 1,000 meters away with this build. Now lastly for the third loadout, this one is called the Meta Loadout, as I personally think this is the best loadout for the DXR in just a sort of all-around type of situation, and I pretty much run this loadout about 90% of the time. For the sight, I use the M11 6x scope. For me personally, this is my favourite scope for any of the snipers in the game. I do just think that the 6x zoom level is really nice in terms of being really zoomed in but not too much to where it burdens you at closer ranges. For the ammo, I use the extended mag as, like I mentioned earlier, I do like having those few extra shots if I'm trying to go for some nice multi-kills or anything like that, or just the regular ammo is a really solid option too. For the underbarrel, again, just the factory mounts, and then lastly for the barrel, I use the factory barrel as this does just give the DXR its fastest rate of fire, and as great as the extended barrel is, it does just slow that down quite a bit, which does not suit my playstyle most of the time. Like I said, this is my personal favourite build for the DXR, and it's the one that I'm running around with more often than not, so hopefully you guys enjoy this one as much as I do. So that is pretty much it for the DXR-1, guys. Personally, I've really enjoyed using this one, and as a sniper main, it is probably up there as one of my favourite weapons in the game. I do tend to prefer the SWS-10 as it is just a bit faster and more flexible, but the DXR is always good fun to use as well. Up next, I'm hoping to cover the AC-42 for the assault rifle class, but other than that, let me know which weapons you guys want me to cover, as I'm going to be largely basing them off what you guys want to see the most, so be sure to leave some recommendations down in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to leave a like down below, and if you are new, then consider subscribing to the channel with those notifications on. If you guys want to support the content that I make here on YouTube, then consider becoming a channel member. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you all out there on the battlefield.